Do we have anybody? Do we have
Well, we need Sarah. Wait, without Sarah,
anyone from the public attending?
Close the window.
I think we should get into at least 6 o'clock. It's not 6 yet, right?
Noisy out there.
If
Okay.
anybody would like to speak from the public, can you please raise your hand electronically? There is not, Rich.
No one? Okay. We're going to skip approving the minutes for the time being and go right to the introduction of Sarah Cruz.
Richard, unfortunately, Sarah hasn't logged in yet. So if you want to, I can wait. Why don't you go to your approve the minutes, because I needed her to be introduced. She needs to be in the meeting.
That would be good.
Good.
That makes sense.
Well, we don't have a quorum for approving the minutes, correct?
No, we do not.
Okay, then we'll move to, can we go to number 5, update U.S. Community Urban Forest Grant?
Why don't we skip that one too? That's going to be Sarah also. So we'd go to the capital tree planting program.
That was my next choice.
She's actually just getting on, so why don't we give her a sec?
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Vanessa Valadares, Chief of Operations and Public Works. So the reason that I came to the tech meeting tonight is that I would like to personally introduce Sarah Cruz to this committee. Sarah Cruz is an arborist that she has just started working with us towards the end of the year. So she has been with us a little over a month now. And one of the reasons why we brought Sarah as part of our team is to help us develop a lot of things to tree management and tree plan and a few other things related to it. So one thing that we would like to start having is that you guys are going to start seeing her on your monthly meetings. She's going to be staffing the meeting with Paul. And one of the things that we would like to do is we're going to start centralize some of the tree requests through her. As you may be aware, we have some, not only our master plan that just got approved last year through Rights and Parks, but also we have got some grants that's one of the items on the agenda that Sarah was going to explain a little bit later about it. So the reason to have her as part of also now this committee is to be able that she can add the whole picture to the committee as well. So the idea is that we continue all this collaboration that we have. We appreciate all the work that you guys do, but we want to make sure that we are all aligned on what is the goal and what is the best thing for the city. So here with me now is Rob Stowers, for those that do not know. Rob is the Director of Recreation and Parks, and Sarah actually is under Recreation and Parks, that is all under the umbrella of Public Works. So I'm gonna let Rob speak a little bit more on what is about Sarah, her background, and also develop a little more about what is the plan that we have for her. Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah's come to us from a pretty good background, and particularly with urban forest tree management. Working in New York, she had a lot of assignments for the parks and also the right of way, the street trees. So she has a wide background of being a consultant for city governments and private concerns. She's also has a background in horticulture and one of the other reasons we brought her here, besides the tree canopy, was to do some land management plans for our parks, which would include, of course, any woody plants or any vegetation, and really the health of our turfs and the health of our green infrastructure. So she kind of have a dual role here in terms of her assignment over the next couple of years, and hopefully beyond. She is now, you know, there's a bunch of things that I'm happy to have her here, because some of the things I can now turn over to her, and I can do some other things that need to be done, like our accreditation. I need to really supervise our accreditation that we have to get done in the year. So Sarah will be taking over the master plan, working with Ken Hughes, our park superintendent, and she'll be taking over the bulk of the master plan. She's working already with the master plan consultants. They're working on surveys right now with our stakeholders, and so I'm sure some of you will be involved in those surveys, because they have to come up with a plan, planting plan, and a management plan. So she's going to be taking that off our hands a little bit. And also, she's working on several, 2 grants actually. She's helping me revise the scope of work for urban forest grant that we got from the Department of Agriculture, and so she's revising that scope so we can more balance that to our budget of $1 million. Our initial request was for 2.5 million, to try and match a $5 million goal. But now we have to kind of shrink that and to $1 million over a 5-year period. So she's going to be working on those revisions too. Also, she's going to be working on the new grant application for a little bit smaller grant, I think between 300 and 400,000, to do some work forest development. I'll let her talk to tell you a little bit about that. I find that probably the most exciting part, even though it's a smaller grant. I find it very innovative. And she's going to be working in concert with the Norwalk Land Trust, which they're going to be doing the grant as well that kind of complements that. But I'll let her talk. I've said enough. So I'm glad to be here tonight. This is my 2nd meeting with the advisory council. So you guys do a wonderful job. You're there, you're volunteers, you take your time out to help the city of Norwalk. And so, you know, thank you for your work and your service.
Thank you. It's good to have you here again.
Good. All right.
So, hey everyone, really nice to meet you all virtually, and I've just been getting my feet wet for the last month and a half, but I've been meeting a lot of folks, excited to be joining this meeting for the first time. But in my experience, it seems like there's a really solid foundation for urban forestry, specifically in Norwalk, and I'm really excited to join the team and really continue to grow the program and formalize some parts of it. So I look forward to working with you all. But like Rob said, I'll be working on the tree master plan, working on these new grants, specifically Connecticut Deep put out an urban forestry equity opportunity. And I have an idea for how to kind of grow a green workforce program. So getting some folks hired, basically like a seasonal part-time position, hoping to really recruit directly from members of the community, particularly those that may be at some disadvantages for other hiring opportunities, and basically train them on the job in tree stewardship, tree planting, pruning, things like that to help them enter kind of the green workforce in the future. So I'm happy to assist in any ways. I'm excited to work with you guys, and I'll be working a lot with Paul, kind of getting a sense of the tree planting program as well. So really looking forward to it.
Great to have you here, Sarah. Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome aboard.
Always good to have another arborist on this.
Like to be surrounded by arborists. So.
That's great. We've been able with the grants and stuff that we've gotten now. The program is expanding, and I know Rich and Gay, Peter, you've been there almost from the beginning, and the fruits of the labor are starting to pay off with the quantities of trees, the money we've had for trees, and now being able to get other people involved too. So it's the program is taking off, which is something we've been trying to do for a long, long time.
Yeah, it's nice to see it go to the next level.
And we'll talk more about the screen workforce. We'll talk more as we move forward. Because that's a
Great.
component we don't have.
Hmm.
And you know, people on the ground to help us actually make a physical effect make a difference.
Yeah, and I should say that I have experience with like creating management plans with private entities, municipalities, but I've also been on the ground, collecting branches, working with landscape crews. So I understand the perspective of both ends. And so I'm a very operational, strategic kind of maybe type A person. And so just to let you guys know, everything that I do, I try to keep in mind, how do we operationalize this? Like, love to plant more trees, but how do we take care of them adequately and make sure they survive? Things like that.
I'm looking forward to you elevating the value of horticulture, citywide. Because that's a component of landscape architecture we don't usually get to talk enough about.
Hmm.
The sort of green systems that Rob mentioned, the green infrastructure is something that we talk to, but it's extremely difficult to implement unless we have everyone, sort of working on the same page. So I'm going to look
Awesome.
forward to you sort of pushing the green infrastructure issues.
Great.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to the next one then, the U.S. Community Urban Forest Grant.
To you, Sarah.
Back to back.
Yeah, so we're in the process of revising the scope for that grant before it gets awarded and money comes through officially. We're pretty good on that front. They just want some more specific details of implementation, actually. But we're pretty good on that. Me and Robert are going to meet on Friday to kind of get that set in stone, pass it by Rita, our grant coordinator. But that's moving and grooving, and as long as we can get funds available, they might be able to be applied to spring plantings. Something important to note is that all plantings that are funded through this grant must be within the Justice 40 tracts. If everyone's familiar with the U.S. Forest Service has specific areas that are mapped to show disadvantaged communities. And so it's a lot of South Norwalk, some of East Norwalk. And so all the plantings need to go into that area. The consultant that's working on the tree master plan and the inventory is identifying planting sites as they go through an inventory. And so also through the grant funds, we'll be able to expand the inventory to cover maybe 75% of Norwalk's street and park trees. And so luckily we'll have some help from them identifying those planting sites, but I think that's it for an update.
Great.
Sarah,
South
why
Norwalk.
don't you talk a little bit about the software and Planet Geo and what they've gotten for the tree plotter too, because I'm going to get into that in a minute. So give them the background on that.
Sure, yeah. So I've worked with a lot of different inventory software, not tree plotter specifically, but so they've got their inventory software up and running. We're able to access, and if we wanted to add points, we can do that. They inventoried about 4,500 trees, I believe, so far, just in South Norwalk and Calf Pasture. The program is quite user-friendly, but there's a lot of intricate details that we can extrapolate from that. We can get a breakdown by genus, species. You can filter to see all the planting sites. You could filter to see trees that they've entered as like a priority pruning or a priority removal, things like that. So me and Paul have been talking with the GIS analyst for the city, Lindsay King, and once we get more meetings with the consultant Planet Geo, we're going to try and figure out how we integrate any of the current and previous GIS inventory information that we have into that software and create some kind of efficient workflow so that, you know, we're not doubling up the work, and that make sure that we can use this program in the future. I think at the end of the project, we hope to have some kind of public facing map that kind of shows people where trees are distributed in the city, kind of take a look at their neighborhood, see how many trees are there. But that's something that we'll continue kind of talking about with the consultant and figuring out down the road.
And one of the
This
good things with the
this is Robert.
software, Robert,
I was just going to say some overriding goals from the master plan. One is just to have a master plan. That's the overriding goal. But also within that is to really restore our forest back to a standard of coverage. And so what we're working on now is what percentage of coverage is adequate for Norwalk and its population. And even though most of this grant has to be spent, the grant has to be spent in the low advantage areas federally classified. That gives us an opportunity, though, to use other money, other capital money for other parts of the city. But our goal, our master plan goal is really to be able to do that, plus to maintain and manage our infrastructure and set up the type of structure, management structure, volunteers, stewards, what have you, to be able to maintain our forest, be able to predict, failures, tree failures, to be able to predict health, the ones that are healthy, the ones that are going in a different sense, and being able to have a system where we have an eye on our forest in terms of risk. So we do risk assessments with the system. So those are some of the overriding goals. But like Sarah was saying, we hope to be more engaged with public and end up with a public-facing platform, so that the public and our management we can readily monitor and assess our urban forest at any time, at any point in time. So anyway, I was just mentioning some of the overriding goals of the master.
No, just while I'm thinking of it, Sarah, you're writing this grant, correct now? One of the aspects we've had a difficulty with in South Norwalk is addressing property ownership. And so part of the task in going into these areas is dealing with the homeowner, not the renter. So we've learned that it's been difficult. And if you're writing a grant, there is a task that involves sort of research and dealing with the property owner. So I don't know if that gives us a slight edge, because I don't think they hear that often when you're applying for grants. We talk about all the good things, but there's a reality about trying to get things implemented. So
one of the good things with this software.
I just want to apologize. I need to leave, but I don't want to leave without saying anything. So thank you, everybody. Robert, Sarah, and Paul, I know that we'll continue with the other items. I appreciate your time, and thanks for welcoming Sarah to the team. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Take care, Vanessa.
Thank you. Bye.
One of the things that I was going to mention is Lindsay King has presented before to the committee the GIS survey 123 that she had put together for us for geolocating the trees. And right now we've got a little over 1,000 points of trees already in there. And this software with the tree plotter will be able to pull all of that information into that software. So it's all good information. It's not lost. So we're not starting from scratch again.
good.
I know Sarah mentioned working on the maintenance, and I know that one of our challenges has been supplemental watering. So our current tree planting contract covers the first 2 years, but then beyond that, it's been a bit of a challenge to provide the supplemental watering. So if you can work on that when you're working on the maintenance, that would be deeply appreciated. The summer 22 was a wicked drought, and we had trees that were out of warranty, but still really needed supplemental watering.
Yeah, so in the US Forest grant that we're in the process of revising, but we've been awarded, we did budget in for a water truck and
Yay,
two
water truck.
tree crew members. And so that would be one of their tasks. Also, young tree training, removing trunk guards if the tree's starting to outgrow them. All the things that need to happen after that 2-year guarantee.
That sounds awesome.
Nice.
Okay, then we'll move on to update on the capital tree planting program. Fits right in.
This is a perfect segue, and that's why I wanted Sarah to talk a little bit about the tree plotter and the grant, because we've been given a list of locations in that South Norwalk area that they've recommended plantings for. So between those locations, what we've started to get online where people have seen on the city website, the tree request form, the emails we've gotten from them, plus the areas that we still have from where we're doing construction of curbs, sidewalks, and continuing doing planting after the projects are done. We probably have at least 250 to 300 trees that we can do in the spring now, and with more help to be able to put them, stake them out and pick the species and locations, it'll help, and we should be able to get even more done than we did even that last fall with the 227 that we did last fall.
Great.
Available budget for spring of 24. Well, obviously, Sarah just talked a little bit about the grant, and I'm going to mention right now between funding sources that we have left for the Martin Luther King Drive Initiative grant through Economic and Community Development that we still have 144 596.75 out of what was 250,000 to begin with. We have $245.25 out of the ARPA money that was 200,000 for ARPA DPW accounts. We have 184,776.75 in the Economic Community Development ARPA fund, the account that they've let us use for trees. That was originally $500,000. And then we have a little bit of money left in the tree advisory DPW capital budget. The total of that balance right now is $330,830.02. But some of that work has to be done in South Norwalk and the Martin Luther King corridor that's mapped. So what we're going to try and do is use the remaining ARPA money elsewhere around the city to try and spread the money around. So we're in good shape right now for this next, but that ARPA money has to be spent by December of 2024, which should not be a problem with the way we've been planting trees.
Is the 330,000 just for spring, or is that for both the spring and the fall?
We have those accounts that can go spring and fall. The ARPA money would be for the fall. It has to be spent by the fall, but that Martin Luther King account with the 144 5 in it, that account can go beyond December of 24.
So that could go into the spring 25 planting cycle as well?
Yes. And then, as Robert and Sarah had mentioned, in that U.S. Community Urban Forest grant that we've gotten, there's money in that for tree planting, but that's specifically in South Norwalk area, disadvantaged areas. And that's even more money on top of what I just mentioned.
Great. And then replacements?
The replacements, we've got several of them that I know that we need to do, and we've talked with both Olmsted and Minutemen about those, so they should be taken care of. What we've got on the list should be taken care of in the spring. And then with Sarah now, if she finds any others, she can add them to the list too, and we'll put the whole list together.
Are there any particular trees that they don't want to plant in the spring that might be considered better to plant in the fall, or have you heard any of that?
They haven't said anything to me related to that.
Okay.
Not with the oak, the fall dig hazards, that kind of thing. I
that's
haven't heard
for
anything
fall, yeah.
about that kind of item for the spring.
Okay, excellent. Then update on the Tree City USA and Growth Award.
Tree City USA Growth Award. We have some really good news on that. Due to the various grant funding that we've really been able to up our game even more this year. And I'll just start to give you an idea. The population increased this year by about 440 people. Well, with the Tree City USA, you have to spend a minimum of $2 per capita. So we've added to the population in Norwalk, and this year we ended up spending $12.53 per capita with all of the various organizations, from the Tree Alliance to our funding that we've done, our workforces, volunteer efforts. So it came out to, the expense this year was $1,148,025.40, which went from 1253 last year. Just to give you an example, it was 974. So it was an increase of $2.79 per capita, on top of adding 440 people to the population. So we will meet the requirements very easily for the Tree City USA, and we've submitted that, and it's already been approved by the state forester, and we're just waiting for the Arbor Day Foundation to approve that for what would be the 20th consecutive year.
Good.
Now, as far as the Growth Award, we actually had really good numbers with the Growth Award this year too. And what we ended up having is, the Growth Award, normally you need 10 points. In all of the different categories that they have, we picked a group of categories, and we were able to actually put in 20 points this year. We ended up basically grant applications. We had the Connecticut Urban Forestry Council, where that had been applied for the NRVT through the NRVT board, working with Louise Washer and the city, and the Tree Alliance agreeing to sponsor that grant. So with this, you have to apply for at least 2 in order to get the points for that one. And we have actually had applied for 3. That one, this U.S. Community Forest grant that Robert and Sarah had just talked about, that was one we applied for. And not only did we apply for it, we got it. And then we also had another Long Island Sound Stewardship grant that the Norwalk River Watershed, in conjunction with the city and the Tree Alliance, had applied for. So those grants, we met that category. We had a continuation of training. That was worth 3 points. We got that for continuing ed. Jose Ortiz and Jose Lopez had gone for classes for certain things that met the requirement. The canopy sampling was an amount that really gave us a big bonus on the points there. And we've started the sampling through the grant. We have that, and there's been a draft report about that already during the time period. The other one is the management inventory system. That was worth 5 points. That one we talked about already with the tree plotter program that came as part of the grant. And then the last one that we had was the planting trees, and we've upped our game on that one too. Between us, for the fall of 22 and the spring of 23, because we do fiscal year for this, we had 524 trees, plus the Tree Alliance had planted 74. So we had 598 trees that had been planted in the city between the 2 groups and the organizations. So that puts us at 20 points, and we needed 10.
That's great. I have a question regarding the Tree City USA signage. I know they're redoing the East Avenue overpass for I-95, but I think the southbound exit 16, they just redid the island sign.
Yes.
Could we add a Tree City USA sign to that island somewhere? Because that's really like one of the main entry points to the city.
We could, but we have to get a permit from DOT to do it, and then I'd have to get another sign too. But that's something we could check into.
I'd like to look into it and see if we can do that. I mean, must have got a permit for the signs that just went up, right?
You're saying
We
off the
had
exit?
one from quite a few years ago. Yeah, when we first became a Tree City, we installed the signs up at the Norwalk Wilton line on Route 53 there. That one was installed, and then we also had done them on Westport Avenue and over on Connecticut Avenue at the Darien line too.
Those are all there still.
So isn't it two then at 16? One from north, one from south.
If you wanted to do both, yes, you
Doing
would.
both. They're both primary entries into the city.
Okay, I'll see if I can get some extra signs then and work with DOT to get the permit and put those in.
Awesome. Planning for the 2023.
I think we're a year off there, bud.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
so
it's a
sorry,
typo.
that was a typo. It should
That's
be
a typo.
24. Sorry, that was
That's
a
come and
typo.
gone.
Yeah, that was a typo.
24,
Yeah,
I'm gonna assume 24 Arbor Day.
So the Arbor Day this year is going to be on April 26th. As usual, it's the last Friday of April. And I've talked with Principal Paradise of Silver Mine Elementary School, and she's agreed that she does definitely want to have the Arbor Day celebration there. And we're going to schedule the first planning meeting on February 12th at 11 o'clock at the school.
They just redid all the parking lots, correct?
They did, yes. But she as soon as she heard the potential for a couple more free trees, she was like, "You can have it anytime you want here."
Rich, take a look. I mean, there's been a recent amount of planting.
Yes.
That property could probably use look at me kind of tree, a nice big native. I can't say beech because of beech leaf disease, but that would be in my mind because there aren't any there. I think they're mostly oaks and red maples they planted as part of the project. So just take a swing by, Sarah. Same thing. It's like what could the Silvermine landscape use that really has a nice presence?
How about a tulip tree? Have a couple of tulip trees.
Let's see I don't remember what they planted, but it could be something that's big and substantial.
I think
What
the
we
last
can do,
time we
usually
did Arbor
we
Day,
ask-
they wanted fruit trees, didn't they?
It all depends on the school. Every year, some of them want the flowering trees. Some of them have wanted like a red bud. Other ones have wanted apple trees. So it all depends on the school. And usually what I do is I work with them and say, hey, what would you like? Well, if this year we've got some specific things of what we'd like to do, then maybe instead of just saying here, we'll guide them in the direction that we want them to go.
Yeah, let's do that and guide them away towards not native trees too, because some of them always come back with those cherry trees. So I think they just would do better with a little bit of education about that.
We can take a
nice
look at
big
it. Sarah and I can look.
How about Anissa sylvatica? Great for that location.
Hey, Paul, I'm gonna leave you with the meeting. I'm gonna go upstairs to the mayor's address. So,
Okay, take care, Robert.
nice meeting everyone.
Robert.
And
Thanks for
we
coming
continue
again.
we're gonna continue to work together and have the best urban forest in the country. We're even gonna pass Seattle. How about that?
You
Okay.
guys should be proud, Peter, Gay, and Rich, with the amount of time you've been involved with the program. I mean, and now you're starting to see the fruits of your labor, like you said, going to the next level. So you should be proud.
Yeah, I really like Peter's emphasis on green infrastructure.
I'm on board.
Okay, you guys. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Robert.
Bye.
So next item was tree liaison update from Erica, but she's not here, so.
So I'll help. I can jump in if you want.
Go right ahead, Guy.
Okay. So I sent out an invitation to our list of names that we had to see if anyone wished to become a tree liaison. I sent out 22 emails. 3 people responded. One was not interested in joining, but she said she'd get back to me with some locations and send along some suggestions. However, we have 2 others that were welcomed and they're going to be on board. Kathy Selshop and Steve Clockey. And Catherine, I'm very pleased to see, has joined us today. And Catherine, I was told, you're on the conservation committee along with Steve, and then it would be, and of course, we all know the conservation committee runs the same time that we do. So that's always been a problem getting people to join us. So I'm very pleased to see that Catherine was able to fit us in. So I'm going to keep them up to date. If I'm glad that Catherine's here, but I don't think Steve was able to join. So I'll keep them up to date. I'll send them to make sure that they get the minutes, address any questions that they might have, and help them along with all the forms. So welcome, Catherine, number one.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. We lost Paul? Oh, well.
We're losing them.
All right. Catherine, what area of the city you in?
I'm in Rowayton.
Rowayton, good.
So I can cover Rowayton and South Norwalk because I'm in South Norwalk quite a lot.
Great.
Nice to have you be part of the team.
Thank you.
Yes, we're always looking for new liaisons, so thank you.
I just had a question though, in terms of the Tree City and thinking creatively about the elementary school and the school with the trees and how they tend to ask for the same smaller species, whether there's not like an opportunity to have plaques go up with the trees that just have a bit of educational information just on either, the stormwater management with some of the large trees like oaks in terms of like how they're really important and all the number of species that they provide sustenance for, just to have, to bolster up and just continue some tree education.
Oh, actually, Catherine, thank you very much. That was a perfect segue for something. I just wanted to mention this year, and Sarah knows what I'm talking about already. Usually what we do for the tree, for Arbor Day is we have some teaching done at the school every year. And we've had a partnership with Doubletree Hotels since I think the Tree Advisory and the Tree City USA started in 2004. Well, Doubletree always had a teaching component for their employees. So they would always go and teach, and they'd have a poster contest at the school. And then some of the members of the committee would judge it. And then Doubletree would always give a night stay for like each poster contest winner for each grade for their family. Well, Doubletree has now gone out of business in Norwalk. We no longer have them. So we would like to continue the teaching component of it that we do with the classes in the schools. So that's a great idea. And we're open to ideas this year because it's the first year that we don't have Doubletree doing the teaching.
I think that's a great idea to incorporate a plaque for some educational purposes.
Well, a plaque is limited in time. I think the information may not be a plaque, but it may be the information. It may be something a little more temporary, Catherine, because plaques like signage, they get lost in the landscape, they get damaged, and they're sort of lost the moment after, they last a month, someone looks at them, and then they're forgotten about. But the educational component is worth discussing. And perhaps the plaque is something that's a little more temporary. You can think about it. I'll give that some thought, but not necessarily. When you say plaque, memorial plaques frighten me a little bit because they last too long.
Like either something that has the species and something that's given to live in with the science teachers. Maybe if they had that inside, then they would have that as, opportunity to walk around with the kids to talk about the trees and the environment for incorporating that into some of their science lessons, or when they do the water cycle, to be able to go out and actually talk about the trees' role in the water cycle or something.
So you're thinking about a plaque to hang in the school, maybe in honor of the Arbor Day with a little information on it versus a plaque outside at the tree.
Well, just something that goes on the trees, like when you're sometimes in a park or you're at like, say the New York Botanical Gardens, they have something on the tree or on the plant that's like indicates the species, so that people can identify or see, like there's a lot that you have a little bit of like an arboretum type approach to plantings at school to say, you know, let's look at doing a native arboretum over time at the school and take that opportunity, because you can then have more to show as an educational thing.
I'm going to throw that directly to Sarah, because now you can put a plaque on it and put a GIS location on it and know what you got and when you put it in.
Exactly.
There are.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I just threw that to Sarah. I like that.
I like that a lot.
If you had an app, like then you could just go in and be like, all right, here you, but you know, that's a, I don't
There
know,
are
That's a
some
good
cities
idea.
but there are
that
tree
have,
gaps or, you know, numbers or something.
there
Yeah.
are some cities that have plaques on a lot of their trees, and it even has like a QR code right to that point. It's really interesting, but I know a lot of times with new trees, like plaques signage can get difficult. Where do you put it? Where do you hang it? Is it going to get lost? I actually just came from working, my previous job was at a private estate that essentially maintained an arboretum on the property. And they had little hang tags on a smaller branch lower on the tree. And that seemed to be a
Well, I'll
very
give you
like,
this. This is a plaque we started looking at for when we first planted trees in the city. And we'd actually put like a gift plaque on a tree.
Oh.
This is too big. But, you know, I know it sounds stupid, but in terms of Catherine's concept, you could take this and write about the tree on it. It's temporary. It lasts for a month, maybe 2 months, but that's probably all you need to do. But that could be something that is sort of, look at me, it's the Tree Advisory Committee, City of Norwalk, the tree does this, character picture. So that would be, when you said plaque, Catherine, my mind jumped to something like this. As well as, you know, an accession plaque or something. So food for thought. We got a month or two.
Yeah, we have a couple months, so it's perfect timing, and we need to do something different this year to take the place of Doubletree. So this is a perfect time for the conversation.
So Paul, are we looking for another sponsor since Doubletree has left us?
We do most of the stuff, and we can. It's just they would come in and do like one of the educational components with but now we're going to see if we can come up with some other things. Sarah and I were talking the other day about it a little bit too, so we'll see what we can come up with there, and maybe we still do the poster contest. We just don't have somebody to say, here's the award, and we're going to give you a free night stay at the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Well, why can't we as a committee do the selection of, I remember it used to be a painting, a child would do a painting or create a poem or something like that. And then we could do the judging instead of having it back to Doubletree. So let's
Exactly.
maintain some of the components, the educational aspect of it. So, okay.
Exactly. That's what we're going to need to do this year. We're going to need to come up with something new and maybe a little more unique. And to tell you the truth, I mean, I'm sorry to see Doubletree go. I mean, they were great to us for many, many years. But that said, we've been doing it for 19 years. Maybe it's time for a little bit of a change and an update anyway. And this is a perfect opportunity.
Okay.
Well, could the winning poster or something get a tree? I mean, from the tree, you know, to plant on their property
We
potentially.
could maybe see about doing something like that too.
Yeah, or they could choose, you know, we could work with them to find some spots or something. That could be their tree. I can't
Yep,
Yes, be a little-
definitely.
But sometimes that's a problem because some of the students live in apartments, not necessarily houses. So
Yeah,
something, we might come up with
that's
an
true.
alternative for that.
Yeah, or you look at where there's a public land that or an appropriate planting near where they live. So that's like their
Mm-hmm.
tree that they, you know.
Yeah, then they got some ownership in the tree that they won.
Right.
Exactly. To say, you know, this is the tree that's planted in your honor or something,
Right.
you know, that you can visit it and it's there for you.
That's
Thank
good. All good food for thought and conversation.
Yeah, all good ideas. Like it. Is Jeff with us from the Tree Alliance?
I have not seen Jeff tonight and I did not hear from him, so no.
Okay, we never got a quorum, did we?
No.
So we'll
No.
table approving the minutes till next month's meeting. And we'll look for an update from Jeff next month's meeting. Is there any other business that anybody'd like to add?
I'm reminded I was supposed to take a drive by Riverside, Richards Avenue on the Cemeteries Day, but I never made it. Is that still are we still planting trees in the cemetery locations?
Yes.
All right, so it's worth a
And
drive.
I'd like to have Sarah and Rich maybe come with
Yes.
us, take a look at what we got to do there so we can make a recommendation because, yeah,
It's time. It's overdue. Yes.
Right, so get them on the spring list.
yeah, that's what I'd like to do. If we can do them for the spring list, we would.
Yeah, so Sarah and Catherine, we planted trees along St. John's Cemetery. St. John's, right?
No.
Yes. But this
Well-
is, we did that years ago.
Right, so we're looking to continue that line.
Correct. With the same
Yes,
format
okay.
of trees. Right.
What we like to do is build on what we've got started. And we tend to like to do trees that are, in groups and on streets where they have a direct impact, visual impact, as opposed to a one tree here, there, and a little bit over there. It's kind of like planting tulips. You plant, 3 dozen tulips in one spot. You don't spread them out over an acre.
This area, Sarah and I drove it a week or so ago, so she's seen what we're talking about the cemeteries on Richards Avenue there. This is actually across the street, and we've got to take some pieces out of the hedges to fit them in.
And that's probably fine. Depends on the hedge. We can actually replace the hedge.
Mm.
No, they don't want that at all. But they're
All right,
okay with
fine.
opening up and cutting sections of the hedges to plant the trees in.
It may
and
not,
that'll
may
be
not look
fine.
good, but whatever.
No.
All right, well, then I'll call the meeting to adjournment. That should wrap it up for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Very well. If you're out and about with Sarah, Paul, just drop her by. You know where I live on Wall Street.
Have a good night.
All right,
Meet you
take
guys.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night. Take care, everyone. Bye.